The world is getting harder. Every day, more and more circumstances and occurrences of mass casualty events are happening. Whether it's here in America or in foreign countries, we see it becoming more prevalent. Whether it's car accidents because of mismanaged roadways, whether it's violent occurrences, we've seen explosions, we've seen flooding, and we've seen so many different types of events that require you to have the proper tools on you, because first aid responders aren't always going to be there. That's why we realized we had to do something. So we developed the MACK 4, the Mass Casualty Kit, accounted with all of the materials and equipment that you may need to treat a casualty up to 4 people who are in critical condition. Everything from trauma to prolonged field care. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So when we dive into the MACK 4, you see that not only is it packaged in an expedient way, but it's packaged inside of an American-made, robust, durable backpack, right? So we know on the outside we have stuff that we absolutely have to get access to and we're going to need quickly. That's going to be our compressed gauze, our hemostatic agents, right? So we have 4 separate sets of quick clot gauze. We also have 4 MACK bandages, so that way you can have compression, as well as you could use it as an emergency trauma dressing or a tourniquet for a child. Heaven forbid you need one. You also have a set of decompression needles, additional gloves, and additional rolled gauze right up front and accessible to you, the end user. In your bottom pocket here, we have an assortment of support items for any type of traumatic injury, or maybe it's less traumatic, it's less life-threatening, and you may just need to treat an injury. So we have in here Coband and ACE wraps for an assortment of different injuries, as well as a splint. And we also have here an assorted variety of tape. We have medical, surgical, as well as duct tape, all accessible from the outside. That way you're not having to dig through your bag to get to those items you may need time and time again. We also have assorted shock blankets, so that way you can keep a patient warm, a sharp shuttle to deal with any of the sharp instruments you've used in a trauma emergency event. We have eye shields and eye pads. We have assorted wipes. We have steri strips for wound closure. I knew we had another shock blanket in there. And furthermore, steri strips, wipes, and your iPads. You'll notice on the outside of the bag, staged already for you, are 2 tourniquets on each side. So that way you can quickly access them without having to dig into a bag to get that life-saving tool. We also have shears, Sharpie, and a pen light. You could even easily put a needle D or additional tourniquets on the outside of the bag, depending on what your mission set might be. Now, when we dive into the bag itself, one of the things I think is awesome about this bag is you can lay it out open like so. Right up top, easily accessible, we have a respiratory module. So this right here has things not just to manage your airway, like nasopharyngeal airways to maintain that patented space, but we also have additional 5x9 gauze to cover any blood or viscous fluid that may be flowing out of the pleural space, as well as an assortment of chest seals, both vented and non-vented, so that way you can make sure that you're securing that respiratory zone. We have a military surgical kit. That way, if you are in a situation where you need to engage in prolonged field care and you are trained to do so, you can easily have the tools on hand. Partner that with an SK6, a 76-piece surgical set that we make in-house here, so that way you could have every size of suture that you may need, every type of Kelly that you may need, as well as support gauze, support tapes, and support drapes. Not 2, but 4 Oleus trauma bandages. This is a 6-inch trauma bandage through TACMed Solutions that is absolutely phenomenal in performing in the most austere environments. It has inside of it additional gauze, as well as a small cup that could be used to create pressure on the wound. Also could be used as an eye shield. We love tools that have modular capability. You have another module of compressed gauze. You can never have enough compressed gauze inside of an emergency trauma event. Whether it's a mass casualty, whether it's a 5-car pileup, whatever it may be, having additional compressed gauze only leads you towards more success in wound packing. You have a CPR clamshell. In the back here, you can deploy a quick litter. That way, if you're on the X and somebody has been immobilized and they're not able to walk, they're not able to run, you can quickly grab that litter, deploy it out of your bag, and carry that person to safety or drag them to safety. So we built this kit with all these different components inside of it while still leaving you room to maneuver with your own gear. We didn't want to stuff this kit full of a bunch of components that you might not necessarily need. And we also wanted to give you the freedom to add components inside of the kit that may be specialty towards yours application. Not everybody is going to need a BVM. Not everybody is going to need a C-collar. But if you did want to add those things to this kit, you definitely could with the space that you still have left. When you look at it laid out across the table, you realize I have the potential not just to save one life, but I have the potential to save multiple lives inside of a mass casualty event. Whether it's massive bleeding, whether it's airway and respiratory management, whether it's circulation, whether it's head injury, whether it's hypothermia, right? Whether it's using all these tools to prevent hypovolemia, or if it falls into the E category, where so many people say everything else. But that's absolutely so much more, right? Because there's small wound closure, there's large wound closure, there's field care, there's evacuation, there's the ability to evaluate a patient. There's so much more inside of this kit where you, whatever disaster you may be finding yourself in, now have the ability to be a force multiplier. The MACK 4 is something we built so that Americans have a better capability. We understand that things are getting harder. We understand that you need more capability. That's why we're going to these efforts. So, while you can, go get a MACK 4. Get one not just for you, not just for your team, but for your community. For the people that need someone to stand up and protect them, to help them, and to respond for them. Because that's our job, is to look out for one another, to love thy neighbor as thyself. The MACK 4, an amazing comprehensive first aid kit from Refuge Medical.